Good evening. I want to thank, first of all of you for being here tonight. I want to also thank our home, Nekafla, for giving me this opportunity to speak to you tonight. I will have a very interesting presentation about faith, and I hope that it will help you uh, face some of the difficulties that are yours at this point in time with this pandemic that seems to some of us endless. Anyway, thank you very much. And what we're going to do is we're going to start, first of all, with a short prayer, and then we will go into the presentation itself. Therefore, I ask you to close your eyes, breathe deeply, rhythmically, trying to find a place of calm, of serenity within yourself. As you take air in, you'll feel the beautiful energies that are circulating all around you. Imagine that you are surrounded by a dome of light and that you are in the middle of this dome of light, and that within this dome of light there is only calm, serenity, there is only love, there is only hope, there is only compassion. As you feel this energy entering into your body, it allows you to find a place within yourself where you can concentrate, a temple of serenity, a temple of love near your spiritual essence, where you can see, touch, and feel the vibrations of all of these sentiments that we feel every day that surround us. Feelings of love, feelings of compassion, feelings of hope. And all of these sentiments allows us to get in touch with our true selves, and also to get in touch with our brothers and sisters that are all around us, whether they're incarnate or disincarnate. And little by little, we can feel the vibrations, we can see the colors, we can see the beauty of all of these wonderful, wonderful sentiments. And then we can send a little bit of ourselves to those who are in need. Let us first of all think of all of those who are in hospital today, who are suffering, those who are in the throes of mental illness, depression. Let us send to them a lot of hope, a lot of love, so that they can turn towards the light and go forth in their journeys. Let's also think of all of our disincarnate spirits that we know in the past, or that we think or touch in our everyday lives. Let us send to these spirits a lot of love, a lot of compassion, so that they can continue to work towards a better future for themselves and for the universe. Let us finally think about Jesus, he who has left us a wonderful, wonderful heritage of love, of sacrifice, and the words that guide us every day of our lives. Therefore, we also elevate our thoughts to our Creator, to ask Him to bless us and allow us to begin our talks of tonight. Amen. So we will start now with our talks. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope that I can communicate to you some of the feelings I have about this topic. What we're going to talk about today is the unlocking the power of faith. This comes from the Gospel according to Spiritism, chapter 11 and 13. We all know that faith is powerful because it can move mountains. We all know this citation from the Gospel. Faith can move mountains. But how can we unlock the power of faith within ourselves? How can we do that? And we need that. In order to do so, we need to look at many factors that would facilitate our ability to unlock the power of faith. First of all, let's look at faith itself, what it is and what it isn't, the Spiritist vision of what faith is. Then let's talk about love, which is one of the basic sentiments that we have. Let's talk about humility. Let's talk about charity. And finally, let us touch just slightly on true happiness. And then we can see how we can unlock the wonderful power of faith. To have faith means, first of all, accepting God in your heart. Accepting God in your heart. You have to feel the power of God in your heart. Accepting the infinity of God's qualities because He has them. He has these infinite qualities of goodness, of being just, of being a loving Father. And we should feel touched by God within ourselves, within our souls, within our spirits. We should feel touched by God at every moment of our lives. Every moment of our lives, we have to feel His presence. But how do we get to that? That's feeling that, accepting God. We have to see His light. And we have to see Him everywhere, in a tree, in a path, in an animal, in the sea, in the sky. You have to see Him everywhere because He is everywhere, in the smile of our children, in the love that we receive from our parents. So this is where God is present because God is everywhere. We have to feel His love. We have to open our hearts and feel His love. We have to feel His goodness. We have to feel also that He is infinitely just. So everything that happens on our planet, on this earth, in our world, is perfect. It's perfect. The only imperfections that exist were caused by man, but everything that God built was perfect. So, and He's always just. Everything that happens to us, that will happen to us, whether we are incarnate or disincarnate, will show us that He is infinitely just. But our faith has to be reasoned. That is, not just coming from above, not just coming from the heart, in fact. It has to be reasoned. We have to understand or try to understand where faith is coming from. And faith, reasoned faith, is basically, if you look around, you see what Kardec said were intelligent results, intelligent events. And obviously, for every event, there is a cause. And for every intelligent event, there is an intelligent cause. And this is what gives us this understanding that there was reasoned creation. And then we understand that there is a God. We understand, and finally we can accept that there is a God. We can then begin to look at faith, because faith can be any set of beliefs, any set of beliefs. But what we're talking about here is Christian faith, is Spiritist faith. And Spiritist faith is basically based on the revelations that we receive from the spirits in the 19th century, in the middle of the 19th century, and as written by Allan Kardec. So our faith is reasoned. Our faith is not just accepted, it's not just something that we repeat, something that we learn by rote, or that some priest told us. No, we have to accept. And also we have to accept that our faith will change as science develops, as new knowledge arrives, and so on and so forth. So it will change. So in this sense, by reasoning that there is an intelligent principle behind these intelligent effects here on earth, we can then accept the existence of God, we can understand it, and we can justify it. But at the end of the day, faith has to come from the heart, from within us, from within us. We cannot say, I'm going to be faithful, I'm going to feel faith. And all of us who have faith sometimes have had doubts in the past. But it has to come from the heart. It has to come from who we are, from within ourselves. And we basically have to give back God's love. We have to give back the love that we receive. We're just a medium of this love, because the love comes from God. We're just helping to transmit it to someone else, to some other spirit, to some incarnate spirit or some disincarnate spirit. So love does not belong to us, belongs to God, but we're just passing through our hearts. But we should feel it there. And then God, if we have faith, becomes the center of our lives. So, and obviously, there is a sentiment which is extremely important, which is love. And love is the basis of faith. As I said, God sent us love. We keep it in our hearts. And then with that, we can use our faith to help others and distribute this love that came from God to other people and to other spirits. So let's talk a little bit about love. I mean, I've talked a lot about it in past presentations, but I think it's always important to come back to it, because it is the most important sentiment. Love is also the basis of charity, because we're going to talk about charity later on, but it's also the basis of charity. It's base of everything. It should be the basis of everything we do here on earth. The love of God above all things, obviously. We have to love God above all things. The love of yourself or oneself. We have to love ourselves in order to love our neighbors as we would love ourselves. We have to love our neighbor, we have to love our friends, we have to love our enemies as well, which is very difficult to do. But since we are not capable yet of loving without any restrictions, loving the enemy is like having compassion towards this enemy. But we have to learn it. Through pardoning, we have to learn how to love this enemy. And we have to love those that are close to us, who are close to us, and those who are far away, who are different from us. Because it's much easier to love those that are similar to us, that are part of our family, people that speak the same language that we do, that look like us. It's much easier, much more difficult to love someone who is different. It is extremely important also to know that we need not only to understand that love is the basis of life and love is the basis of charity, but we have to practice it, because we came on this earth to learn how to love, to expand our capacity to love more and love better. And this is what we have to do every day: love more and love better. We have to also love God's creation, all of God's creation. God did not make us the masters of the universe or the masters of the earth. We have to love all of humanity. We have to love the animals and plants, and we have to love our planet, the earth. And in this sense, I'm very happy that newer generations are becoming more aware of the necessity to love our planet, that we have to take care of our house. We cannot no longer do what we used to do before, to destroy, to exploit. We have to love where we live because it's a gift from God. It is a gift that He gave us so that we can continue on our journey. And we obviously have to love the universe because we have something to contribute to the universe. All of us, even as small as we are, as insignificant as we are, we all have something to contribute to the universe. This is why God put us on earth. This is why God created us as spirits, so that we could help Him build the universe, a better universe, with our small contribution, obviously. And we have to learn how to feel love unconditionally, without conditions. Love that accepts others even if they are imperfect or perfectible. Love others as they are, with all of their qualities and all of their defects. Without love, there can be no faith, for sure. Real faith. I'm talking about Christian faith. I'm talking about Spiritist faith. And there cannot be charity as well. Because if you don't love people, then it's a commercial relationship when you're doing something for someone or you're doing material charity. Let's talk about humility. Humility, because it's a precondition to love, is a precondition to being able to be charitable. And pride is a disease of the human soul. Pride is the source of a lot of evil, not only between individuals, but also even between nations, between societies, between groups of people. We all know about stories about families that do a lot of awful things, like killing their own, or parents that kill their own children because of pride, family pride. So we have to understand that pride is the source of all evil. And humility is the absence of pride. So if we want to be humble, we cannot have pride. But obviously, society, sometimes the way we were taught as infants, teaches that we have to be proud of who we are, proud that we are better than other people, that we are more intelligent, that we are bigger, that we are smarter, that we can do things better than they do. But in fact, it is counterproductive. What we have to go towards is humility. And sometimes people mistake pride with power. Now, pride is not power. On the contrary, pride is weakness. Jesus was humble, but he was very powerful. Gandhi was humble, but he was very powerful. So let's go towards humility. Let's have strong principles, sure, but let's go towards humility. We are not better than anyone. We are different. We are different. We are all different. We're all individuals. We all have different levels of education, different levels of understanding, of moral development. We're all different. We're all unique in the universe. However, we are all equal before God because we're all His children. And we are not better than anyone, no matter how much schooling you had. And some of the most wise people that I have met in my life have been very simple people, very, very humble people, people who were, in many cases, peasants. Even one guy who was living on the street, he was much wiser than I was. So let's be humble. Let's try to be humble. And so pride is the opponent of humility. Pride prevents us from loving because there is this negative. If you have this negative feeling within your heart, there is no space for love. There is no space. You're gonna act on your pride. All of your reactions are going to be dominated by pride, and pride is like a drug. You can get involved into it, and it's very easy to make mistakes because of pride. Some people have vices. For example, they can be alcoholics. Some people who are prideaholics. They're addicted to pride, and they all of their decisions are controlled by pride. So let us take it out of our hearts and go towards humility, strong humility that gives you power, that gives you understanding that things can happen. And pride and charity obviously are incompatible because you cannot love if you are too proud. And if you are too proud and try to be charitable towards someone, it will basically come out at the best of all possibilities as material charity and never as true charity, because you will want something in return. I mean, you see this in many universities, for example, in the UK or in the United States, where a person will donate millions of dollars or millions of pounds to build a temple in his honor, a library with his name on top. But basically, yeah, it will help the students, obviously, but it is just an expression of pride, a wish that they would become like stone, indestructible and immortal. And pride and faith are also incompatible. Pride in the true Christian faith, pride and the true Spiritist faith are incompatible. So if you want to become a true Christian, a true Spiritist, get rid of pride. That's the best way for you to move forward in your journey. So humility is the basis of faith, is the basis of faith, is the basis of charity. You give because you love the other, not because you want to get something back. It opens our hearts. Humility opens our hearts. It allows love to go in, as I said before, because pride is gone. So humility is there, and humility and love are compatible. They are compatible. And as I said, there is no true charity with pride. There is no real faith with pride. Let us talk about charity now. True charity satisfies the needs of the body and of the soul. Sometimes, we focus too much on the material needs of people that are needing something. But sometimes the most important thing are the needs of the soul. Many times, for example, you here in Europe, you see people, older people principally, who suffer from loneliness. And one of the best ways for you to help them is to talk to them, to listen to them, to allow them to say whatever is in their hearts with a smile, with the mouth shut and the ears open. That is one of the best ways that you can help people. I remember one old lady near where I live here in Brussels. She would go every Saturday to the supermarket, really at about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Everybody was there, everybody, including me. And when she was going to pay for her goods, whatever she bought, she wanted to chat with the cashier. Everybody in the back of the line were, not very happy because they were busy. They wanted to go somewhere. But in fact, what all she wanted to do was to see people. All she wanted to do was to talk to people. So let us try to satisfy also the needs of the soul of people. We have, for example, something that we do in our house here, which is to listen to people who are facing difficulties. It's a wonderful, wonderful activity because it helps not only the person who's being helped, but also it helps the helper, in fact. Because, for example, you learn about humility. You learn that maybe your problems are not so big as you were thinking. There are people that are suffering much more than you are. So let us give, let's lend an ear to somebody. Let us just lend our eyes, just looking into the person's eyes, and allow her to communicate how she's suffering. True charity does not ask for rewards, material, financial, emotional. It does not ask for anything. It is practiced with unconditional love of others. And charity is the most noble example of love. So if you want to say what is the most fantastic example of love, well, it's charity, because it is love in action. It's love that has become action. You're no longer just someone who knows the doctrine, that knows what has to be done. You are acting on it. You are doing it. So this is the most important thing for you to do, is to act on it. Charity also demands sacrifices, of course, courage, of course, self-sacrifice, work. You need to work sometimes, Sometimes instead of going out, you have to do something to help people. And the sacrifices that you make are maybe with your spare time, maybe your job, but you have to sacrifice. And self-sacrifice is extremely important because you have to learn how to, for example, how to control yourself. And perseverance, you have to persevere in what you do. You learn something new every day, every time you try to be charitable. If you make a mistake, for example, while being charitable to someone, where you allow your pride to get over you, to control you for a millisecond, your conscience will tell you, you made a mistake. So understand that and persevere. Continue to try to help the person. And you have to be generous. You have, work on your generosity. Sometimes, this world has so many problems and so much darkness sometimes that we forget that generosity is an extremely powerful sentiment as well. If you want people, for example, to cooperate with you, you have to be generous. If you want people to see some of your arguments that you have to be generous. Nothing belongs to you. Absolutely nothing belongs to you. Everything that we have belongs to God. We're just using it for a while. Obviously, there are some people who have no faith, but they're still capable of acts of charity, obviously. These people, you don't have to be a Christian to be charitable, or a spiritist to be charitable. But these people have high moral standards. But they're rare. They're rare. There are not that many of them. But faith sustains us in the present. We are sustained by, if it's real faith, if it's true faith, it helps us in the present. It will help us in the future, and it will help us in the time of man, so the time of humans, which is a time that is just a convention, years, months, minutes, seconds. But it would also help us in God's time. God's time is not man's time. It's infinite time. And we have infinite life, spiritual life. So faith will sustain us during man's time and God's time. Therefore, it will sustain us for eternity. Faith allows constant sacrifice of selfish interest, because you can see when you are being selfish. If you really absorb the principles of Christianity, if you really absorb the principles of the Spiritist doctrine, you will see when you are being selfish, when you're only thinking about yourself. And sometimes, we even see this in the Spiritist centers, for example, in Spiritist house. People say, "Well, this work is mine; it belongs to me." It does not belong to you. It belongs to Jesus. It belongs to God. It belongs to those that are using the service. So be generous. Don't be selfish. Don't be selfish. It is very difficult not to be selfish. Some people come to earth. They reincarnate in order to learn how to be humble, in order to learn how to be unselfish. But they still struggle with it. They still struggle with it. So let us try to be unselfish. Let us, faith allow us to accept our burdens. Whatever burdens you have, faith will help us, because you can pray, you can talk to God, you can talk to Jesus, you can listen to what a good spirit will tell you in your ear, and so on and so forth. So faith will allow this for you. So it's a very powerful sentiment. And we are arriving at the end, but let's talk a little bit about true happiness. God created us to be happy for eternity, but we live in a planet of light and darkness, and where goodness and evil cohabitate, and sometimes during certain periods, evil predominates. So here is more difficult. On earth, we alternate periods of happiness and sadness, and actually, we have some periods where we have both happiness and sadness at the same time. I always give the same example. It's like when you're walking in the country and you see some very dark clouds on the horizon. You have a storm coming in and thunder and so on and so forth. But on the left, you see a rainbow. And you can have in your own personal life periods where some things are not going well and some things are going very well. So what we need to do, if we want to move forward, is first of all accept that there are difficulties. Let us not pester against God. Let us not revolt, be constant rebellion because we have some suffering. But at the same time, let us accept, let us focus on the light. Let us focus on the sunny side of the street, so that we can move forward, so that we can feel at the same time happiness and sadness. Earthly life must only serve for our moral development. We are here to develop ourselves morally, and to show us the way to the light. In the Middle Ages, all of the main novels of the Middle Ages, like Man of La Mancha, for example, or King Arthur's legend, there was a quest, and sometimes it's to find the Holy Grail. In our case, we all have a quest, and the quest is to walk towards life, and the light is proximity to God. That they will be able to be in a perfect world, a perfect world where only love exists, only pure spirits exist, and this is our quest. This is where we are going. So every time we incarnate, we are here on earth or in the material world, we are learning or go to become closer to God. So every time we go through an incarnation, it means that we are studying intensively some of the principles that we have to learn, like love and so on, in order for us to move forward morally and spiritually. We need to improve ourselves by becoming charitable, because by being charitable, you improve yourself. By concessions and sacrifices, we can find harmony between the elements that make up our lives. Charity frees us from a lot of burdens, because, for example, if we are not burdened by materiality, if we can give things away, it means that we are, less worried about survival, less stressed about our daily lives. Charity brings us closer to others and also to God. And what is true happiness? True happiness cannot be found on earth. True happiness, absolute happiness, cannot be found on earth in possessions or in material pleasures, but it can be found in the good that we bring to other people. Every time we're being good to other people, then we are closer to this true happiness. We are closer to true happiness. We all know, some people in the Spiritist movement who are great mediums and great speakers, people like Divaldo Franco or people like Chico Xavier, and these were happy people. They were happy people. They were always, even though they suffered, even though they had many ailments, they were happy people. They were distributing love to everybody around. So, in the sacrifices we make for others as well. So, in the happiness that we shape unconditionally that we share unconditionally with others. So, this is how we really truly find happiness, is sharing this happiness that we have, like love. If you feel happiness, share it with people. Don't keep it to yourself only, because then it just stays there. Just give it to somebody else. And like my friend used to say, the love I feel is secondhand. The love I give you is secondhand because I felt it first. So you have to feel it in your heart. The same thing with happiness. If you're happy, smile, smile. Smiling is contagious. And when you smile, people probably will smile as well. Uh, and true happiness is found in a life dedicated to goodness. If you try to be good, you will see that you'll be a much happier person in a life obviously dedicated to God. You have to put God at the center of your life, and you will see that your life will become much easier, and you become a much happier person. It is found also in the work that we do to help others, as I mentioned before. And for this, charity inspires and faith sustains us in what we do. And I like to thank you. This is what I had to say to you tonight. I hope that I have been clear. To me, one has to, using faith as a solid basis on which to build a life dedicated to goodness, on which to build a life dedicated to God, where God is the center of everything that you do. In this way, when you have a difficult decision to make, when you arrive at a place where you can go left or you can go right or you can go forward, the faith that you feel in your heart, this Christian faith, the Spiritist faith, will allow you to make the good choices. As you all know, in our belief system, there is no sin, but there are mistakes that we can make. And faith allows us to make fewer mistakes. Fewer mistakes. We'll still make mistakes, but we'll make fewer mistakes. If we are humble, if we get rid of pride, if we can then go towards love, go towards charity, go toward helping people, if we are generous, then I'm sure our lives will become much easier, much happier, as a matter of fact. So again, thank you very much for being there. And now I will close these talks with a short prayer. I ask you then to breathe deeply, close your eyes, try to find within yourselves calm, serenity. but above all, love. Let us feel the vibrations of these sentiments. Let us feel the colors of these sentiments. Let us touch them. Let us feel the vibrations that are coming from them. And little by little, we'll be able to give a little bit of ourselves to all those spirits that are around us, whether they're incarnate or disincarnate. Let us think of all our brothers and sisters in this world who are suffering. Let us think also of all of our spiritual friends that are in darkness, that are still confused, that still haven't accepted the last transition. Let us send them a lot of love, a lot of compassion, a lot of hope. Let us also think of all the people in this world who are angered by other people, by other nations. Let us send to these brothers and sisters feelings of humbleness so that they can chase pride from their bosoms, so that they can look at the other side and instead of seeing an enemy, they will see a friend. They will see someone with whom they could talk, with whom they could cooperate. Let us thank our spiritual friends who helped us tonight, those who have inspired us, those who have protected us. Let us thank our Lord Jesus Christ for the beautiful words that he has left us that guide us every day of our lives. And finally, let us elevate our thoughts to Almighty God, to our Creator, to thank Him for the privilege of being eternal spirits, for the privilege of being incarnate spirits at this time, at this point. And then let us ask Him to bless us and allow us to end our work tonight. Amen. Thank you again.